My name is Hume An. I'm Director of Real Estate Development at Heartland Housing.
And I'm Jeff Bone, Principal at Landon Bone Baker Architects here in Chicago. So the ground floor of the building is all public and supportive services, this teaching kitchen being part of it. The rest of the building is all residential, so second floor on up. The historic preservation aspect really kind of weaves through the entire building, but is primarily focused on the front facade and the entry lobby.
We're standing in the teaching kitchen at Harvest Commons, and this is a commercial grade teaching kitchen. We have our first community garden attached to one of our buildings, and we want to promote health and nutrition, and so we thought if we have a garden, we might as well have a place to teach residents how to prepare their meals and teach them about good eating and good and healthy eating.
This is a great building. I mean, this was built in 1929, and it was, like I was saying earlier, it's on the National Register of Historic Places. Heartland Housing was able to get that done. So we're using, as a vehicle for some of the funding, is historic tax credits, which basically says that we have to preserve the facade and a lot of the lobby. There's some really interesting historic aspects of the building. And some of the residential floors, there's some arch ceilings that are there that we had to preserve. So it was a really interesting and challenging project for us because it incorporates historic preservation. The building is a green building. We've got Enterprise Green Community certification as well as City of Chicago Green Home certification. So we've done a lot of energy efficiency, architectural items to kind of upgrade the building with all new systems.
It had a lot of issues in the early 2000s, actually the late 1990s. And there was a lot of drug abuse, drug trafficking, there was prostitution, it was the locus of crime. Actually the local alderman, Alderman Burnett, got robbed one time, and he found out that the robber lived in this building. So we took a building that had sat vacant since 2003, that had been ransacked many times for copper and trashed, and we transformed it into what it is today.
Believe it or not, the building was in pretty good shape. I mean, a lot of these buildings were built really well back then, and so I mean, there was some terracotta repair and replacement that we had to do. We dropped the building, we did a critical facade exam with our engineers, and basically pinpointed every single piece of brick and terracotta that needed to be replaced. And so we restored that. So it was a pretty intensive process. Coming into the building, the historic portions, the front lobby, which has a lot of plaster relief work just on every surface. It's really beautiful. That was all restored over the course of probably 2 or 3 months by really great craftspeople. We've got some tile, some really colorful tile work. It's almost arts and crafts in feel. And it's worn, so you see where people have walked on it over the years. We're restoring that and preserving that and filling in a lot of damaged areas.
Once we received our award of funding, which was fairly early on around the schematic design phase, to launch our design development phase, we actually had a day-long charrette with about 32 different people representing architects, engineers, property management, social services. We had an urban farm consultant on board, and we just talked about the big goals of the project, the strategies we would use to achieve those goals.
Like in terms of kind of where this building is in the city, it's near West Side, I think. There's a lot of interesting things happening out here. And I think that the mayor, with the ribbon cutting that happened a couple days ago, the West Side has some big plans in terms of new buildings and things that are happening.
In affordable housing, until recently, the focus on green has been on energy efficiency, and I think we're trying to take a more holistic approach and look at it not just on the impact it has on utility bills, but to see how we can provide the healthiest environment for our residents.